charts and graphs today. Who here really hated finding a percentage of a number? Fractions and percentages? You might like this better then. If you really like...
I still got all your work sitting right here.
I'll take it anytime.
It ain't done.
Oh, but you didn't get on it. I lost the pen cap because I was hitting my hand with it.
I'm going to have it done by next week.
Well, there's an opportunity for that. There's an opportunity for that on Tuesday. In case you didn't know, Tuesday is a study day. We do not have a scheduled class on Tuesday. But come on in. You can have a whole day to work on that. And Dante, I understand you might be leaving us like a week early this semester. I got a text from Janet. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd like you to come in Tuesday too. We'll get you a little bit of makeup work in advance, so you can have this semester finished out before you head out. And that way you don't have to worry about like doing makeups 2 or 3 or 4 weeks later once you forgot everything. That's no fun.
I'll be on Tuesday.
You'll be here. Beautiful. I mean, you don't even have to wait until the afternoon. If you get in earlier, we'll give you work earlier. Exciting, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so back to charts and graphs. I think some of the people who are good with facts and figures and all the calculations will actually find this a little harder. But if you're more of a visual person, this is a little easier. Do any of you know Helen Newsom? Mm-hmm. Helen was a student at the academy. Now she got a job working for H&R Block doing like tax preparation. That woman is all about facts and figures and calculations. And I'll tell you, when she took this class, the hardest part for her was charts and graphs. Now, she still did great. I'm not bad-mouthing her. Helen, if you're watching this, not bad-mouthing you. She still did great even on charts and graphs. But it was harder for her because she was facts and figures oriented. And a lot of people are more visually oriented, which should make this a little easier. Anyway. Let me draw a graph. Let's see. So here's my question to you.
Yeah, 5.
5. 5 what? What's this a graph of?
It must be of something that you measure.
It is. It's a graph of something that I'm measuring.
I like that.
What?
I like that she said.
Because you never say.
She said it must be of something.
It's something you measuring.
It's something I'm measuring. But you're looking at this and you're saying, that's pretty much all you can tell me, right?
Yeah, that's all.
This is an incomplete graph. Let me add.
Percentage. Okay, absence. So we even.
You figured it out, Chris.
Presence and absence.
Oh,
we
good.
even.
The commas.
I didn't figure it out. Jesse figured it out. Janice.
Got it. Figured it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what is this a graph of?
It was moving back as you was
Yeah.
Hold on. Hold on.
That's all I needed.
So it's a graph of math class attendance. And looking at this graph, how many people are here and how many people are absent?
We're even.
5 and 5, yes. It's important to recognize that without this and without this, the graph doesn't happen. Otherwise, it's just an interesting picture. Likewise, without that, if we didn't have those numbers, we
You
would
still
also
be able to
say,
count. You count by the lines.
how do you know that line is just 1?
Why would it be 0?
Maybe it's 10, 20, 30, 40.
Oh, that's true.
Now, it just so happens that we know our math class. We're 5 and 5. You don't have to call Linda either. No, she's okay. But it takes a title. It takes... Let me put these back. It takes a title, and it takes a scale, and it takes labels to make this all happen. You know what? Here's a neat thing about the graphs. I'm putting a title on it. I'm going somewhere with this.
That's the people that's here and other people is absent. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a pie graph. This pie graph almost says the same thing. Almost. What's missing over here that you have over here, though?
It's empty. It's a circle, you don't have no numbers.
We're missing numbers, right? Okay. Looking at this, we can tell half the people are here and half are out, right? Just like we could tell it over here. This circle is only telling us that it's half of the people. There could be 1 million people in this class, but it doesn't say. Now, an easy way around that is to write the numbers in, or to put a little arrow that points here and says 5 or something like that. But a pie graph, you could actually get away without some of that. Okay, let me leave those up there for just a second. Let me take this stupid file off here. And let's hand out the handout.
Question.
Yes.
More so, are those two illustrations of graphs?
Those two demonstrations are graphs.
I said, on those two illustrations of graphs right there,
Yep.
my question to you would be, would it be fair to say that the most important points of that, I'm asking this question,
Yep.
the most important points on those two illustrations would be the keys.
The key would be one of the most important. But there's actually 3 most important parts. Michael,
On that keyboard,
IntelliKeys?
yeah, we're hitting in period,
Yep.
but what it's doing is bringing the bottom line up. So I'm really going to type it without the period for right now. I'm going to shut it off and then turn back on and see if you can start.
I think that's a good idea. You're doing drills?
Well, no, we're not doing drills. I'm just working with her one anymore.
Okay.
To get through the lesson.
I think your plan is appropriate.
Thank you.
So Harvey said correctly that one of the most important parts of the graph is the key. Down here, here's our key, present and absent. If it weren't for this, if we didn't have that information, this wouldn't necessarily mean anything. Math class attendance, 5 and 5. If 5 what? Were 5 people late?
5 empty and 5 scribbled.
Yeah, but what does it mean, right?
But it would led to your interpretation.
Equally important. Perhaps this is.
5 out of 5. You can say 5, there's 5.
You can say 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10.
But 5 out of 10 what? Not since I took off the key, it doesn't mean anything anymore. Another thing that's important, and this is on the handout too, is the title. Imagine for a second that we didn't have a title. Okay? We've got 5 present and 5 absent. So, present and absent from what, right? Are these people, are these dogs that are missing from the dog show? Like, there's nothing at all that says. So the title is essential, the key is essential, and the other thing that is essential is the scale. This one goes 1 through 10, but it's not unheard of for you to have a scale.
From 0 to 100.
It says 10, 20, 30, or 100, 200, 300. You could even have a scale that goes into the negative numbers.
Could it be alphabets?
Could it be? Sure. Yeah, wait a second. I'm going to totally overhaul this one because I like your question. Wait a minute. Let's put a F down right on that line. F, D, C, B, A. course, now this is going to look pretty squished, but bear with me. Math class grades.
Why I had to go first?
You're sitting in the front.
You want to go first?
No,
I go first.
'Cause
I'll
I-
be first in the meeting.
you second.
Okay. 11, what grade do you want?
I want an A.
I'm getting ready to say that I want an A too.
Great, okay.
Now why would I want anything
A
else?
plus?
A plus.
So she a little over me.
Dante, what grade do you want?
Give me all of it.
What grade do you want?
A.
Wow.
Everybody want A's. Who would
Nobody
say
want-
that they want something else?
Anybody want
Gary, what grade do you want?
Good.
He only wants a B.
Modest, man.
Gary, I appreciate that because it makes our graph have more variety. Tracy? Give me a D. D.
And I think all that together.
Okay.
I probably got the D. Tracy got the A.
I don't think any of you have D's. I think we're all doing at least passing. All right. But you're right. It doesn't. The scale doesn't have to be numbers. Usually it is because usually we're measuring. It's a measurement, like Robin said at the beginning. So usually we measure with numbers. But here's a measurement in letters. You'll see years over here or various stuff. And now another neat
So we
thing.
couldn't measure in the alphabet on your numbers. We could measure.
Well, we just measured with the alphabet here. But that's, I think the standard that you'll see is you'll see measuring with numbers. And I don't want to limit us just to these two kind of graphs. We're going to look at a whole bunch of different samples in an exercise later. But we could also take the same graph and put it sideways. These two graphs mean the same thing, right? These both show you what people have for their grades in the class on a neat little graph. You know what? This one needs a title. There we go. Now it has a title. Math class grades. And something a graph helps us do, it's not just showing us little snapshots of information. It shows us information in a bigger picture. I can look at this, then at a glance, without even thinking about numbers, I can say, here's how well the class is doing. And if Janet Fiore comes in here and says, Chris, how is the math class doing? I just point at this. And then I tell her it's a lie, that's not really true. These are made up grades. But if we had real grades in, I would say, here you go. She would look at it. She wouldn't even have to see the letters over there to get an idea of how things are going. Just say, uh-oh, Tracy's in trouble. And everyone else is all right. I want to do something else with this scale, though. Who remembers the last presidential election? Remember who won? Thank you. Okay, just wanted to be sure you're paying attention. Just wanted to be sure you're paying attention.
A lot of heat now, man. And a lot of heat.
Yeah, it's too late. You can't lose it now. You can't lose it now. Okay.
A lot of heat.
The thing about impeachment is you actually have to commit a crime. You can't impeach someone just because you don't like him.
That's all it is.
That-
They just don't like that man.
But they can portray him in certain ways as legacy.
That's true, but that won't get him out of office any earlier.
Nah, he's just gonna be lamed up.
I believe the only president. Well, they tried to impeach Bill Clinton. They tried to impeach.
Nixon, didn't
No, they didn't because he resigned.
That's right.
Because I think he knew that it was going to happen.
You were coming out.
I thought Andrew Jackson was impeached.
Andrew Johnson.
Andrew Johnson.
Johnson.
You're good. You're good. And I think Andrew Johnson, he survived the impeachment because he didn't actually break any laws.
So Nixon was the only president impeached.
No, they didn't impeach him. He
They
resigned.
didn't impeach him.
Because he probably knew they would.
They tried on Clinton too.
Joan, I knew you was on there.
Okay, well anyway, let's
So you pulling that?
rewind back to 2000. What was that election?
In my head.
2012?
But actually, hey, when Bill Clinton was impeached.
Not successfully,
I was
He
successful,
was censored. He was censored.
but he actually committed
constitutionally,
he actually committed a crime of lying to the jury, which was a flimsy basis, but a legitimate basis for impeachment.
but Clinton was the second president that went through that impeachment process.
It's true. It's true. Hey, and everyone's coming in.
Coming in.
We're gonna have to revise that
Chicken in
graph.
Thank the Lord.
We have to revise that
By
graph from
mistakes.
before. Okay, anyway, let's think back to 2012. We've got Mitt Romney, we've got Barack Obama, and there's a bunch of other people running for president too. But those are clearly the people that are getting most of the attention. And there's a poll, okay? And the poll says Romney, Obama. Okay, let's see if I can do this right. Oh, good job, Chris. I should have drawn the little dashes first. Okay, so we have a poll, okay? Percentage support for candidates, for presidential candidates. Percentage support for presidential candidates. And I don't know, a month and a half before the election, here, I'll put a date on here. Again, making this up, like with so many of my statistics, making this up, but to illustrate a point. Now you look at this, and you say, wow, Romney and Obama are actually pretty close here, right? Obama just has a tiny little edge. Looks like Romney's at about 47%. Obama's at 51 or 52%. These guys are close. This could go either way. You remember when it was like that? Yeah? Okay. But this is only the graph that Romney uses. When Romney wants to show how he's doing, he says, look at this. Look how close we are. If we can get our Republican voters out in force, we could win this thing. We are this close. You know which graph Obama uses? And by the way, this isn't lying. This is the same, I'm putting the same title over here. Romney, Obama. People taking pictures of me? You sure? It's okay. I'll turn around.
This is not you.
Okay. So this is what Romney uses in his campaign. Obama says, good news, everybody. We're killing them. The Republicans don't have a shot. They better not even bother on election day. We got this thing. We got it. Very confident.
We got 47%, 52%.
Hey, look over here. 47 and 52. Exact same information, but presented very differently. The difference here is in the scale. Our key is the same. Our title is the same. It's even the same style of graph. It's this column graph. But the scale is substantially different. Where does this scale start? Actually, it starts at, I didn't write it, but it starts at 0. This one starts at 0 and goes to 70. How about this one over here? 45, 52. They're both conveying information, but it's actually, I think, quite neat how you can make things look the way you want using a graph. We're not changing any information, we're not lying, but we're making something very clear for our purposes. I saw a similar graph to this once, where they showed graduation rates. These were high school graduation rates. And they had Philadelphia, and Philadelphia, Camden, and Upper Darby. Actually, it's very similar to that scale. I think it actually went up into the mid-50s, but and they said, all right, so they took this scale from 45% up to 53%, and they said, look at how great students in Philadelphia and the surrounding area are doing compared to across the river in New Jersey. Look how high these bars are. Philadelphia and Upper Darby, way up there. Camden, not so good. And people are a little hard on Camden sometimes. But if you look at the actual numbers, this graph is a lot like this one. These numbers are actually very close. All three of these are pretty much about 50%. And I'm pleased that we're doing better than some of the surrounding areas, but we're not doing that much better. This makes it look like we have like 3 times the graduation rate of Camden, but we only have like a tiny percentage more. Does that make sense? Okay. Oh, I just put down the eraser. Let me clear this off, and I want to do a different kind of graph.
So you can take a graph and use it for the power of persuasion.
You can. Oh, Harvey, did I plant you in the audience? Because, hold that thought. I want to tell you about how I tried to persuade someone with a graph once. It would have worked too if it weren't for those meddling kids. Thanks for laughing. You get an extra point on the next quiz. I want to do a line graph. How many of you have heard of a little company called Google? You're there now? You should be paying attention to me now.
I know. I'm paying attention to you too.
Okay, well.
Attention span.
I can multitask. You can't keep y'all with me. I wish I had a 5-hour engine.
Okay.
Nigga, I just said it.
Google stock prices. I'm going to start these at $0. Oh, this is per share. Zero, 100, 200. So $100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000, and 1,100. All right. And let me put in some years here. Google, I believe, started out as a public company around 2004. There's 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 12, and 13. Anyone know how much money one share of Google cost when they first went public? Of course not. Neither do I. But I have a basic idea, somewhere between $100 and $200, as I recall. I'm going to put a dot right there. And you've all seen these little stock market graphs where it goes like up, 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 down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down.
How much do you think of a share costing you?
Well, I know how much a share costs now, at least within a few dollars, because I happened to look the other day. Unless the market completely fell apart in the last couple days, I have an idea. But I'm not going to tell you yet. Okay, so, and this is estimated. Google did very, very well. The numbers are going up, 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 up. And these little bumps, it goes down for a couple days, but it goes back up, 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 up. Okay. Based on this line, which goes until about 2008, based on this line, what do you think is going to happen in 2009?
Go up. 2009.
It's gonna go up.
It's going up more.
Wow!
Of course.
Of course, except it didn't.
No?
Right around 2008 to 2009, there was a market disaster, and all the banks were failing. You remember that?
No.
You don't remember all the banks failing?
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah, I
Go-
was going
the
to say, I
Goldman
don't have
Sa-
nothing to put in no bank.
The
so I
Goldman
wouldn't know
Sachs
that.
disaster. Well, anyway, there were a whole lot of banking disasters. You notice that Wachovia doesn't exist anymore? That's because Wachovia was losing billions of dollars in this financial collapse, and they had to sell themselves to Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo bought them? Because
Yes.
I owned Wachovia, so I was glad they went down. So they sold it to their stuff
To Wells Fargo.
so I now own Wells Fargo.
Yes, so be careful.
It originated from Commerce Bank.
Anyway, right around 2008 to 2009, there was a rather substantial financial disaster. And most people were thinking just like you. They were looking at this line and saying, look at this, look where it's going, right? And then, right around 2008, 2009, it went maybe not quite that bad. Right around there, maybe. And it kind of bubbled around here and went up a little bit to 500. And then it fell back. And then people were looking at this little part and saying, where's it going? Yeah, oh, they're like, it's going back up. And then it went down again. And now, wait a minute, 2013, huh?
Get it to go up or do anything. I'm all the way down on the floor. My knees gonna get messed up. Excuse me.
Your chair is like the stock market.
All the way down.
You can't get it to go back up. You're using the front left lever, Gary? Just lift it up and it should go up, up, up. You could switch it out if you want.
It's such an obstacle in here.
You could switch yourself out if you want to sit up here.
I'm not like, oh my God.
Not working, sis.
You like sitting next to our bosom buddy over there, Tracy Green, too.
Yeah.
Now, you know the worst part about that?
I'm gonna get
About
another
that-
chair.
about that
I'm
financial
sorry.
Okay, that's fine. What's the worst part?
The worst part about it was that banks got bailed out by taxpayers. We bailed them out.
Yeah, but guess what? That wasn't entirely bad news. I think much of that was bad news. You want this one? Much of that was bad news, but
Can you
not
put it all the
entirely.
way up high for me? So I can
I'm
get-
pretty sure
I'm
this
sorry.
one is up. Yeah, it's all the way.
Okay.
It wasn't entirely bad news because some of the bailout was loans. The federal government said to Citibank, we're going to loan you $54 billion, or whatever it was. We're going to loan you a bunch of money. But then the Citibank had to give preferred stock and preferred bonds to the government, and the government actually came out even or ahead on a lot of that. But, I don't know. I think a couple banks failing might have been good for the system. And anyway, so now, at least in the recent months, Google has resumed this upward trajectory. If I asked you what's going to happen,
That's like a double.
what's going to happen in 2014, what would you say?
Going up.
You say it's going up.
He
Anyone
said
else?
it's gonna go down.
He says it's going down.
It's gonna even out.
I think it's going up because things are getting better.
Up, down. Any other bets on this one?
I think it's too much competition.
Trend seems to be going up.
The trend is going up. And I won't disagree. Now here's the thing about graphs, and this is what I think gets people with the graph. A graph does a very good job about telling you about stuff that already exists, stuff that has happened. And a graph can tell you a trend. You can see a trend that is upward. But a graph can't actually predict the future. So what is going to happen? We don't know. What might happen? Here. Google might have its next quarterly meeting, and it'll make billions of dollars more than people thought, and that'll keep going up. That might happen. Google might have its next quarterly meeting and say, guess what? We botched something. We're sorry. We're not making as much money as we thought. And it could go down. Google might have their next quarterly meeting and say, hey everybody, good news I guess. We made exactly the amount of money you all thought we were going to make. And then it'll do that. Or, and this is one that I have a friend who got his master's in business something or other, and he said the question that they always ask in business school is, what would happen if the CEO of the company was killed in a plane crash? The company's doing great, the CEO is this genius that made it all happen.
But ain't there somebody under them?
Sure,
Stock's gonna fall.
but usually,
Stock's gonna
at least in the very short term, people are going to say, oh my gosh, there's no one steering this thing.
Until somebody take his place and it'll go right back up.
Or the person who takes this place might not do a good job.
Oh,
Well,
then
that
it might go,
happens.
then you might go further.
Yeah, this, what's that?
That happened with Apple when Jobs died. Apple didn't take a real big hit. I mean, they lost.
No, it did this like dip thing.
Yeah, and then went back up.
But in some companies, it really is the person at the head is making it happen, and the next person who comes in can't quite cut it. And when that happens with too many people, that keeps pointing down. But anyway, while we have a trend, we don't actually know the future. I'm very excited to see it might hit $1,000 a share. Wow, $1,000. Imagine if you put $120 back in here in 2004. You could be on your way to 10 times as much money. Gary?
I said it would be interesting if it was like multiple ones over there with, along with Bing and some of the other ones.
Oh, to see how they would compare.
Compared to Google.
On Yahoo's finance website, you actually can see that. And I'll tell you, Bing isn't a stock, but Microsoft is. Microsoft is the company that does Bing. Let's just add another line in here.
That's why Microsoft is putting out their own iPad now.
Oh yeah, Microsoft wants people to use their stuff. Here, this black is one.
Microsoft is Bill Gates.
Microsoft is cool.
Bill Gates is Microsoft. Gates.
Okay.
That's his company. Is that correct, Chris?
Sort of. It's the company he started. Although he's now I think he's the chairman of the board. He's not actually the CEO anymore. I wonder who's the CEO.
I always figured that was kind of like a thing with board.
How a thing like a board?
No, I'm saying like this because Google is so big that there's probably a board of people that sit on the board to make those decisions.
Well, usually, I mean, the thing about a CEO is the CEO is still an employee. And who's the CEO's boss? The board. They let the CEO do all the work, but they can fire him and they can hire a new one. Google and Microsoft are on different pricing levels for their stock. 10 shares of Microsoft back in 2004 would have probably been right around here, maybe almost $300. And then Microsoft did, it sort of followed the same pattern, but not quite as severely. So that's kind of what Microsoft looks like. If you had Microsoft stock, it didn't go up as much when it went up, and it didn't go down as much when it went down. But over the long term, it's just sort of ho-humming along. What was the other one you said, Yahoo?
Y'all doing pretty good.
Yahoo's been doing really well recently. I don't know what their stock price is, but they've made some changes. Here, let's do 10 shares of Yahoo. Ten shares of Yahoo coming in right about here. And Yahoo, let's be realistic here. There we go. Not every stock is going up, up, up. But I want you to notice something. Just like you can't necessarily predict what's going to happen. Here's Google going up, 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 and suddenly it goes down. You can't predict over here either. Looking at this line, this purple line that I made for Yahoo, if you were to follow this line and just kept on following it down, 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 at that rate, the company should have been completely out of business by the end of 2012. But they weren't. They made changes, they got a new CEO, and now they're making money again. And hooray, their stock is worth something.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Let's see, I think about what you said. Since we own business and math combined, and a CEO, a chief executive officer, is being directed by that board. But that can only happen when a company goes public.
No, a company
In a
can
private-
have a CEO.
In a private company, the actually board of directors don't really have that power as much as a CEO. Is that correct?
I think, no, even in a private company, there can be a board of directors that tells the CEO what to do.
They don't hold as much power.
I'm thinking, well, you know, like take Liberty Resources, for instance, which is definitely not a public company on the stock market. Liberty Resources has a board that is in charge ultimately of the whole independent living center, and they're Tom Earl's boss. He's the CEO. So no, I don't think you have to be a publicly traded company to have a board. It's a good something to look at, though.
I mean, for the board to have the power. I mean,
Who's printing body language? Body language, anyone? These people are being very silly. And now they're printing another copy of it. Hey, Daryl, can you pop that into room 1 and see if that's theirs? Tell them there's a whole bunch more coming out, too.
what do you say, Gary?
I was thinking about what happened with Facebook. You know, they went public.
They went public and everybody was very excited.
Everybody up there, stock did not last long.
Well, it still is around. They didn't go out of business, but after everybody bought the company, then they started saying, wait a minute, how does this company make money? They're not actually making as much money as we thought. So it did one of these little
And
dip
then
things.
What happened to American Online?
AOL.
AOL. What happened to that?
There's an interesting story. I don't know what happened to them recently. There's a question for Google. But a long time ago, AOL's stock price was so high, their company was worth enough money that they bought Time Warner. You know, Warner Brothers and Time Magazine merged back in the 80s or 90s to become Time Warner. AOL bought that company. And it became AOL Time Warner. And then, just a couple years later, everybody said, what is this AOL thing? Nobody's using this anymore. It's not making money. AOL Time Warner actually broke off the AOL part and took it out of their name and became Time Warner again. Even though AOL bought them.
I still use AOL.
You still use AOL? That's great.
No, they still have.
Hey, I still use Yahoo. That's okay. No, I mean it still provides a service, but it used to be the big thing. It was like Google. Like anybody who wants to find something on the internet now, Google. It's right there. It's used. It used to be if you wanted to get online, AOL was your choice. It was like the only thing you could do. Okay, we're not going to look at graphs that look like this all the time. This one is getting a little bit messy. But I want you to write on this handout, somewhere on there. You didn't get one. Oh, that's right, because you came in after I gave him out. And Janina, you need one too. Yeah, there's some more.
You didn't get one either.
How's that chair working?
Great.
I built it myself.
I feel like I'm dealt with here.
So there's something to write on here. Let's get rid of Yahoo and Microsoft and Google. Gary, I like your idea of comparing now. You can put more than one thing on a graph. Oh, before I erase this whole thing, if you could go back to 2004 and buy one of these companies, which one would you buy?
2004,
I erased it, but it was over here.
Google.
Google, yes.
Yeah,
Because
the
now
black
you would
line.
have 10 times as much money.
Look, the black line.
Yeah, that was Google. Now, you'd still end up with a little more money if you bought Yahoo or
How
Microsoft.
much was that stock selling for back then?
How much was Google's stock selling for?
For one share.
Back around 2004, 2005, I think it was in the neighborhood of $200 a share. Which is not small change.
Google looks like, I was watching 60 Minutes thing on Google.
Yep.
Looks like one of the great places to work. They were saying that.
Telling
You see that? Did you see that?
you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, they were saying that out in Silicon Valley is located.
I keep telling Janet we need a ping pong table.
Man, that's
I
true.
think they bring their children to work.
I almost brought my son to work today because he wasn't allowed at school. Because he had a
Better
fever.
now?
He's mostly better. Yeah, but
Ear infection?
nah, just a little 24-hour virus thing. If any of you get it, I apologize, but But-
More than
They
that.
said they're attracting.
I won't sneeze your direction.
Yeah, Google's attracting people with, I guess the brains, the technical people all over the world. They
Yeah.
want to get this. They
Yeah.
top people, man, coming to Google.
I'm interested to see, though, what the future holds, because I think, with very few exceptions, those companies that are doing great right now, in 50 years,
If
might
you-
not even exist.
Let's say if you were just coming out of college, trip back, you just getting out of Princeton right now. Would you do it? Would you go out to Silicon Valley?
Well, I wouldn't be qualified. If I was just coming out of college with an anthropology degree and no computer expertise, they probably wouldn't hire me. But if I was coming out of college with a computer science degree, then that would be something to consider. I don't know. I'm still a fan of Yahoo. Call me old-fashioned. But there's something I want you to write on, right on the bottom of here. Graphs can show a trend but they can't predict the future. A graph can tell you what will probably happen, but it can't tell you what will happen.
only go by trends, basically.
And that's very useful.
Trends
I mean,
continue.
for all of you who said, the line's pointing up, I want to buy Google, pretty much at any point in Google's history, if you did that, today you would have more money. As long as you held on to it through those dips where it went down, if you held on to it, your analysis was right. That trend pointing up, despite a couple dips, was actually true. But we can't actually predict the future. What if? What if there's an earthquake and half of Silicon Valley gets smushed or something? Well, Google won't do too well then. Just saying. I'm not wishing them ill. I think all their competitors are in the same geographic region, so everybody would be in trouble. Okay, but that's, I think, an important statement to make. There's an exercise that I'm going to give out where it has a couple of true-false questions, where it says things like, according to the graph, people will be richer 20 years from now than they are now. And it's like, according to the graph, they probably will be richer, but we can't say that they will be. Harvey talked about persuasiveness with graphs. Can I erase this now? Everybody has that?
Chris, excuse me.
No
I
problem.
gotta see Dan.
Go see Dan, the man. Okay. You all know I used to work at Liberty Resources?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I worked for the Academy, which used to be part of Liberty Resources. And one of the jobs that I had there was I was the supervisor of the woman who ran Retreads down in the basement. Retreads it's like a free wheelchair repair program. They just do, they do little wheelchair repairs, like if you need a footrest realigned or nuts or bolts tightened, things like that. For real big repairs, next door at Liberty Wheels is probably the place to go. But I was supervised. They had one paid staff member. And that one paid staff member made fantastic progress from about 2003 on to 2007, 2008. Every year she was serving more people. Every year she was doing better and better and better. And then things started to level off. And she said, Chris, I need an assistant. We need to hire someone to assist me because I can't keep up with all the work. And I said, fantastic. Let me talk to the people in charge and see what we can do. Whatever you're looking at, can you turn it off for now?
Yes, I can, because I need to cut it off. It's X-rated.
It's X-rated. Well, show me later.
No.
After hours, I'll take a look. But anyway, so Gretchen, who worked down there, Gretchen said, okay, well, here we have the year, and here we have people served. Here, we'll give this a title. Productivity at Retreads. And we'll have the year, we'll start at 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 7, 8, someday I'll learn which things to write first. Okay, we'll go to 2011. And people served, we have 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, 175, 200. So very early on, 2003, when this Retreads wheelchair repair program was just getting up and running, this is yearly or monthly? No, it has to be monthly. Otherwise, these numbers are too low. So way back in 2003, Gretchen says she served about 28 people. In an average month, saw 28 people. Fantastic. She helped some people with the wheelchairs. 2004, word got out about the program, and suddenly she's got 50 people. 2005, the program's getting very popular. 2006, hooray! 2007, it's way up here. Almost 175 people every month that she's serving. And then something happened. 2008, it's still there. 2009, it's still there. And it was right about, here, let me draw it. I'm going to draw these together with a line.
Is that, what's, that Carlton, right?
Well, we'll get to him.
Before Carlton.
Yeah, this is in the years BC, before Carlton.
That was, what's it?
So Gretchen came to me in 2007 and said, Chris, I really need an assistant. She said, I'm working at my capacity. The storage area is full, my shop is full, I have a line of people out the door. I am working every single day from the time I get in until the time I leave. I'm not taking a lunch break, I'm doing extra hours. I can't do any more. I need an assistant. And I said to the higher-ups, Gretchen needs an assistant. Can we get her one? And they said, well, we don't have the funding right now. And I said, fair enough. Well, here comes the next year. And sure enough, Gretchen is seeing pretty much the same number of people. Because that's her capacity. Like, she can't do any more. And I went and I said, can Gretchen get an assistant? And they said, we don't have the money. And the next year, it's the same number. So while we had this trend, right, at some point, the single person who was responsible for this trend,
They got to a standstill.
right,
They
it was like,
couldn't do no more.
can't do any more.
They did all they could do.
And this is still good.
2006, 7, 8, 9 was the same
So-
thing.
And guess what?
Oh, all the way to now? Oh, to 2011.
Actually, the number is lower now. We'll talk about that in a minute. But she started asking me, actually, I'm going to erase that part I just drew. Because right here, I actually drew this graph. Actually, I made it in Microsoft Excel. I made this graph to give to upper management and say, look, look at this. Everything is going up, 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 up. And for the last 2 years, she's been asking for an assistant. And this is what is happening. And this isn't a bad thing. I mean, we're still serving 170-some people every single month. But this, clearly, based on this, could be much better. Even if we got someone to work like part-time, we could probably have that all the way up here. This time around, they said, Chris, we see what you're saying, and if you can find a grant to pay for it, it's yours. I didn't find a grant to pay for it. I'm sorry, I didn't do it. And they continued doing that. Right around 2011, Liberty Resources had to cut back on a lot of funding. They had to lay off a lot of people. Yes. However, she actually did continue to come in, and she still does come in to volunteer occasionally. Carlton, who was actually the guy, she wanted to be the assistant, comes in a couple days, part-time each week. I don't know. I don't know what those numbers are right now, because the program is still in business. Dante, if you ever have a problem with your wheelchair, like it's just like a footrest out of alignment or something, they'll fix it for free if someone's here. But you're not going to get the level of service that they had. But again, if you look at the graph up to this point, the trend would be a straight line. What actually happened, the graph can't actually tell you what the future is going to be. What actually happened was it went down. And what's going to happen next year? I don't know.
Interesting, man. I never knew that you were in charge of that.
Well, it was interesting because I really wasn't in charge of retreads, but Gretchen had to have a supervisor. So I was the supervisor. Ta-da!
So figuratively, you were in charge.
Well, they figured assistive technology, and she was dealing with assistive technology. So I was supervising her, but not the program. The program was ours. And what's going to happen going forward? Well, there's 2012 and 2013. I'm totally guessing here, but I'm guessing that it's been pretty consistent. What's going to happen next year? Who knows? Based on this trend, here's what I would guess. I would guess it's going to be like this. But weirder things have happened. There could be a flood in the basement that sends it down to 0. Liberty Resources could get a durable medical equipment improvement grant. And they could hire someone and have it jump up here. There's a number of possibilities for what could happen.
That's probably the most likely possibility, too.
Which one?
The last one.
Oh, not the flood in the basement? I don't know. Have you seen some of the pipes down there? Okay, so anyway, persuading with a graph is definitely something that can be done. In fact, the first example I gave, or one of the first examples I gave with Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, that was using a graph to show persuasion. To say, I want you to either vote or not vote, and if I show you the right picture, maybe it'll change your mind.
The power of persuasion
Yeah.
can be very graphic.
Hey, graphic. This is a graph.
Your assistant is saying the right words.
Huh? Say what, Jason?
So his assistant is saying the right words. He's saying all the right words.
Harvey,
Let me
if,
ask you this, Chris.
That's what I'm supposed to do, right?
if I
So
could,
how many jobs?
I shouldn't say the
lost
wrong
when
words.
They cut funding.
well, I think they lost about 100 jobs. Then they hired some people back as things got fixed up. Because I know some of the people who were laid off are actually working again now for Liberty. So the final number, I don't know. It would be one of these graphs where it was going up, and it went down, then it went up a little bit, and then I don't know where it went after that.
But Chris,
Yeah.
somebody else
Decision.
they got the grant.
What's that?
There's always the possibility somebody else might get that grant and take over that kind of program.
That's true. And what happens to it then? Well, I think something interesting, and this is, for better or worse, a quick history lesson. Let's see. I don't want to call it annual. How about quarterly?
What's up with that? What's up with that thing?
I'm not actually going to write out each quarter that the Academy was in business.
Excuse me, Chris. Louise wants to see me out front.
Okay? Here we go. Way back when the Academy opened, I think it was 2001. In the first quarter at the Academy, I think they had about 10 students. 2002, I'll take a guess. There we go. 2003. 2003, by the way, is when I started. I started almost 10 years ago to the day. I would say we probably had maybe about 30 students. We didn't have walls. When I joined the Academy, there were no walls. It was a whole bunch of like really big cubicles. None of the instructors had an office. None of the instructors had a desk. You just took one of the desks in the room. The Academy had one phone at the front desk. That was it. Wow. I miss those days. Those days back when people couldn't call me. Okay. For 2005, 2006. This is going to be a big graph. Now officially this says quarterly attendance. I really should break these all up into quarters, but I'm going to save you that pain and get us to break on time. Okay, here we go. And then things went down a little bit. And then things went up a little bit. Okay. I don't know if these numbers are exactly accurate, but I do recall it going something like this. Our population went up, then we got a little complacent because things were going so, we saw this. Said, oh, things are going great. We don't have to work as hard. Because we weren't working as hard. And then we said, oh my gosh, we're not working hard enough, and things started to go back up. Looking at this line, you'd probably guess that things would go like this, right? But if any of you have noticed what the population is like here, it's actually much more like that now. Because our friends Janet and Michael, who, by the way, I like the way they think, they said, this is not sustainable. There's no way we can make enough money at this level to actually keep the program running. There's no way that the students coming through the program are going to go out and get jobs on the timeline that they want, because we were actually doing things a lot slower. It'd be like one class every semester. Christina, you would have hated it. And every single time we've accidentally had Christina in like a single class, she's been like, wait a second, no, I need another one. But getting people to come in to more classes, I think has been a great benefit to the program and to the students as well. Our placement rate has gone up, everything is great. But looking at that trend, you wouldn't have guessed it. Something happened right here that made a difference. That was that the Sierra Group became in charge of the program.
That was for the better.
I think so.
That was
Yeah.
sustainable.
Yeah. I mean, I think the basic idea of the program hasn't changed at all.
Excuse me, is that
Yeah.
your phone?
Is that my phone? Yes, I think so.
Oh, okay, it sounded like it was very serious.
And it's Louise. And she needs to see me during break. Okay. No, so I think the mission and philosophy of the program is essentially the same. The people we're serving, it's a very similar population of people we're serving. People are learning stuff. I think people might be learning stuff better because they're learning it faster. If you're doing 2 classes a semester, your brain doesn't get to relax as much. Keep on learning. Anyway, you wouldn't have, like looking at this line, you wouldn't have guessed that it was going to do that. But it did, and here we are. And who knows what next year has in store? Is this number going up, going down, or staying consistent? Take the math class again next year and you'll find out.
It's like I went to a job fair today now. It was so many people. I had to be over over 300 people. It was lying outside all the way down. So I'm wondering, is the job market that bad? I mean, I've never seen that many people.
300?
It had to be over there. The place was packed inside and the line was down. At Broad and with Temple is down. I mean, and then they said they wasn't going to be letting a whole lot of people in.
I heard a report on the radio today that said the job market is actually the best it's been in like 7 or 8 years.
The way them people was in
but
there, when they thought,
But that doesn't, that they didn't say that means it's good. They said that it's better than it has been. Yeah.
My interpretation of that is, in terms of jobs,
Yeah.
you have jobs so people go so you can get jobs you have to pay mortgage with, you have to pay your mortgage,
Yep.
and all that. And some of these jobs you can't do that with, so you have to go to different places in order to get that kind of money to pay that kind of work. Buy a house or something. You
Yes,
can't do that with a lesser job.
Some jobs are the job you can pay for your food with.
Exactly. So when somebody says jobs out there, jobs out there, but that's not the kind of job you can pay your mortgage with or anything like that. But the jobs out there.
Well, that's interesting. If any of you want to be employed, you can have a job tomorrow. It might be a terrible job that you hate, but I bet if you really, really, really wanted a job and you didn't care how much money you made and what kind of work you did, you could probably have a job tomorrow. But you might only make minimum wage, and you might have to work from 2 in the morning to 5 in the morning. It might be terrible.
I was down at on Friday. Emily asked me to go down to the Municipal Services Building for ex-offenders.
Oh, you were there?
I was there. I was right there.
They had to close it down.
Shut down, man. I got down there at 10 o'clock. And the concourse of the MSB building was packed. I actually thought that the building was being evacuated.
How many
So
people
many
was
people.
down there?
The guy told me at 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock in the morning, 1,000 people. It was wrapped around the concourse.
And it didn't even open until 9 or 10?
And they had the ambulance out there.
Was it supposed to start at 10?
And at
And I
8
got
o'clock
there
it was 1,000 people.
That's what the guy told me. He said we had it. And what happened was, when I got up there, the people who were running, they couldn't handle too many people. And people were standing in line for better than 2 hours. They was getting out of rally. So they called the cops. The cops had to come in and they had to handle it. And they were trying to figure out what to do.
You just can't be around each
Because
over there long and it was
I guess they was contemplating letting people in a little bit at a time. But they decided against that because if they did that, they still didn't think it would go fast enough because there was too many people. So they decided to shut it down. And I actually think that was a good idea. I was talking to Janet about this yesterday. She thought that they should probably let people in a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
I think they actually wanted to do that, but the way it was, man, I don't
Well,
think they
maybe
could
they
have
should
done
have
it.
had a bigger space.
So what they decided to do was they put a box out there and told people to put their resumes in the box.
Yeah.
They're
Which
gonna
way-
have it, they're gonna host it at the convention center next time. They didn't activate it.
That's what they said. They said
Yeah,
they would get another venue.
Well, they said in past years they had a couple hundred people, and this year was just a whole lot more because the word really got out.
That's what they said. Last year was like a few hundred. This year was thousands, man. It was incredibly packed, man.
How many of you have been to a job fair at all? You've been to a job fair, obviously. You've been to a job fair. I've sat on the other side of the table at the job fair. I've like accompanied the HR person to go to those, and it's fascinating how many people are just terrible. Now, I mean this as a benefit to all of you. A lot of the people that give you the resume across the table that say, I want to apply for the job, before that resume touches your hand, you know you're throwing it out. The person who is pushing in line to get to the front, doesn't matter what their resume says, it's gone. The person who is rude, or the person who just kind of comes up and says, what kind of jobs you have? Doesn't matter what their resume says. They're done. I would say more than half of the people in line to come to our booth at any job fair, their resume is trash as soon as we get it.
Why?
For those very reasons. If you're going to be rude in line, I don't want you working for me.
So that's kind of like a little profile thing.
It is. It is.
Well, your best impression
That's right.
sells.
Yeah, I mean the job fair it's not a full-blown interview, but if you don't treat it like an interview, you're not going to make it to the interview.
Right.
Uh,
That is true.
and then of the resumes that we get, then there's the we definitely want to call this person pile because they made a really good impression, or there's the we'll hold on to this because the resume looks good, but we didn't really remember the person. Those job fair, like if you know that going in, if you can be in that top half that doesn't get thrown out, that's good.
Can you say also anything more than one page could very well also?
Be trashed.
I don't know. I didn't find that, at least in our setting. Like if it was a 2-page resume, I would say if you have 2 pages of qualifications and experience, don't cut it down to 1. Like don't chop off important experience just to make it 1 page. Don't fluff it up though to make it bigger than it should be.
I thought you supposed to give a cover letter and resume at the same time.
The cover letter, I'll give you a maybe. And I'll say officially ask Emily on that one. Because the cover letter is an introduction of you.
After a week after the interview, but most places, like I was online, they asked for the cover letter with the resume.
Yeah, if they want a cover letter, give it to them. The cover letter isn't like an introduction of you and your resume. I feel like if you are physically there handing the resume, you are the introduction. Emily might have a different take on that though, so don't quote me on it. Okay, well we got away from talking about math, which is just fine. Sometimes math is only so exciting. When you come back from break, I have a nice heavy exercise for you. We'll talk about it before we start. But first, let's take a 15-minute break and come back
Right
at
there in the middle.
10 past 3.
Yeah, it was incredible.